Harrison Ford's recent appearance on The View became one of the most unexpected television moments of the year, as what was intended to be a friendly promotional interview quickly turned into a tense back and forth with Joy Behar. Audiences tuned in expecting Ford's signature calm humor, yet within minutes the growing friction signaled something entirely different. The atmosphere shifted sharply when Behar pressed Ford on remarks he'd made in a previous interview, prompting him to respond more directly than usual. As the conversation opened, Ford initially kept his classic relaxed tone, offering small jokes that drew laughs from the audience. Joy Behar, however, steered the conversation toward topics that Ford had openly avoided in other interviews. Her insistence appeared to irritate him, though he attempted to keep his answers brief. Producers could be seen shuffling behind the cameras, anticipating that the gentle teasing tone of the show was beginning to drift into contentious territory. When Behar challenged Ford about his views on Hollywood's shifting culture, he sat back in his chair, folded his arms, and delivered a measured reply. He noted that he preferred discussing his work rather than broad debates that could be twisted online. Behar didn't back down, insisting that public figures should be willing to address these issues, which only pushed Ford further into defensive mode. The audience sensed the tension rising between them. Ford then leaned forward, making it clear that he wasn't interested in being cornered into statements that could be taken out of context. He reminded Behar that he had joined the show to talk about his upcoming project, not to deliver commentary that tabloids might exploit. Behar countered by saying that viewers deserve transparency from celebrities. This exchange created a visible divide on the panel, with some co-hosts shifting uncomfortably. As the discussion escalated, Ford maintained a tone that was calm but unmistakably firm. He explained that his long career taught him the importance of staying focused on the work rather than the noise. Behar accused him of dodging, which visibly irritated him. He responded that pushing people into controversies they didn't initiate was unfair. The audience reacted with a mix of gasps and murmurs. Behar pressed further, asking whether Ford believed entertainers should take a more active stance on societal debates. Ford's patience thinned as he reiterated that individuals should choose their moments, not be forced into them. He emphasized that he had no obligation to deliver opinions simply to generate ratings. This earned applause from part of the audience, surprising the panel. The tension peaked when Behar challenged Ford's responsibility as a Hollywood icon. Ford narrowed his eyes, saying that responsibility didn't mean being dragged into arguments every time he appeared on television. He stressed that artists have the right to protect their boundaries. The clarity in his tone suggested he was no longer entertaining the pressure Behar was applying. Rather than backing off, Behar reminded him that The View is known for its strong debates. Ford countered that debate is healthy only when both sides enter willingly. His subtle frustration became noticeable as he added that meaningful conversations can't flourish when one party is being pushed into an ideological corner. His controlled delivery resonated strongly with the audience. At this point, the co-hosts attempted to lighten the mood, but the conversation continued circling back to Behar's line of questioning. Ford finally placed his hands on the table, indicating that he was finished with the topic. He redirected his energy toward discussing his film, but Behar again interrupted to revisit the earlier point. The energy in the room tightened once more. Ford's expression hardened as he calmly told Behar that repeating the same question wasn't going to produce a different answer. The bluntness drew loud reactions from the audience. Behar seemed taken aback, but quickly masked it with a half-smile. Ford then explained that constructive dialogue requires respect, and persistence becomes pressure when it ignores boundaries. Behar attempted to justify her approach by saying that she was reflecting what viewers wanted to know. Ford shook his head slowly, stating that viewers also want authenticity, not forced hot takes designed to stir controversy. His words carried a weight that shifted the audience sentiment dramatically. The co-hosts exchanged concerned glances as the interview drifted into uncomfortable honesty. Ford followed by stating that interviews lose value when they become more about confrontation than insight. Behar defended her questioning style, claiming it encouraged deeper conversations. Ford countered that depth comes from intention, not provocation. His delivery remained calm, but its directness suggested he'd reached his limit with the repeated challenges. Another co-host attempted to pivot, introducing a question about Ford's stunt work. But before the conversation could shift fully, Behar interjected again, asking why Ford was resisting so strongly. Ford sighed audibly, then replied that she wasn't allowing the conversation to move forward, which was disrespectful to everyone involved. The audience applauded his candor. Ford added that interviews shouldn't feel like interrogations. He emphasized that he respected the show but expected the same respect in return. Behar tried to respond, but Ford gently motioned for her to allow him to finish. He clarified that he would gladly discuss sensitive topics when appropriate, but not under pressure or force. The atmosphere softened slightly as Ford explained that the public often forgets celebrities are human beings with limits. He said that constant scrutiny creates fatigue, and selective silence isn't avoidance, it's self-preservation. His words resonated with many viewers, who applauded in agreement. Behar remained quiet, perhaps reconsidering her approach. Behar finally offered a half apology, saying she didn't intend to make him uncomfortable. Ford nodded, accepting but noting that intent doesn't erase impact. His poised delivery earned admiration even from viewers who usually favored Behar's style. The co-hosts attempted to continue with lighter questions, hoping to stabilize the conversation. However, Ford made sure the message was clear before moving on. He stated he wouldn't be pressured into speaking on sensitive matters just to create viral moments. The comment landed sharply, hinting at his awareness of the show's reputation for heated discussions. Behar quietly shifted in her seat as the audience reacted. Ford then returned to discussing his new film, focusing on the creative process and the challenges he enjoyed. Although the shift was calmer, the earlier confrontation remained present in the room. His effort to return to professionalism highlighted how much he wanted to salvage the interview's purpose. As Ford described his favorite scenes, the co-hosts leaned in attentively, avoiding any more confrontational topics. Even Behar kept her focus on the movie, perhaps out of respect for the boundaries Ford had just established. The interview regained some warmth, though the earlier tension lingered beneath the surface. Ford began speaking about working with younger actors and the importance of mentorship. His passion was toward a more relaxed atmosphere. The audience welcomed this shift, appreciating the return to storytelling. The segment seemed to regain its intended momentum as Ford spoke more freely. Yet the earlier confrontation had clearly changed the tone. Ford, while more relaxed, kept his posture firm, signaling that he wasn't open to circling back. Behar seemed to recognize this and refrained from interrupting. The co-hosts guided the conversation gently, allowing Ford to share personal anecdotes. Ford discussed the evolving nature of filmmaking, speaking about how technology has enhanced creativity. The audience enjoyed his insights, and applause returned sporadically throughout his explanations. This segment felt more aligned with what producers originally hoped for. The tension slowly dissipated. As the segment neared its conclusion, a co-host asked Ford what he hoped audiences would take from his upcoming film. Ford delivered a thoughtful message about resilience, connection, and storytelling. The answer resonated strongly, drawing appreciative reactions from the crowd. Behar nodded silently. Ford then acknowledged the challenges of promotion, admitting that interviews can be unpredictable. He hinted playfully that today's conversation had certainly proven that. The audience laughed lightly, sensing his subtle humor returning. Even Behar cracked a small smile at his playful jab. Ford thanked the co-hosts for having him, though his tone remained slightly guarded. He made it clear he appreciated open dialogue but valued respect even more. The audience applauded warmly, recognizing the maturity with which he handled the confrontation. Behar appeared contemplative. Before wrapping, Ford added that he hoped viewers would focus on the film rather than the interview drama. He encouraged everyone to appreciate stories that bring people together instead of dividing them. His message prompted another round of applause, reinforcing the idea that he had regained control of the narrative. Behar then offered Ford the final word, acknowledging that the conversation took unexpected turns. Ford nodded, thanking her for the opportunity to clarify his stance. Despite the earlier clash, the moment ended with mutual recognition rather than hostility, showing that disagreements can be navigated respectfully. Producers signaled that the segment was ending, and Ford stood up, shaking hands with the co-hosts. The audience responded with a standing ovation, partly for his film, Partly for his composure, the tension had given way to a sense of closure, and Ford walked off stage with measured confidence. After the show, clips of the confrontation quickly circulated online, with discussions emerging about both Ford's boundary setting and Behar's interviewing style. Audiences debated whether the exchange was fair or overly aggressive. Regardless of opinions, the moment captured national attention and sparked conversation about celebrity interviews. In the end, Ford's appearance on The View became memorable not for controversy alone, but for the way he asserted his boundaries. His calm but firm responses demonstrated seasoned professionalism. The incident reminded viewers that even stars have limits and deserve respectful dialogue. And as the conversation continued online, Ford's poised reaction earned widespread praise. In the hours following the broadcast, entertainment analysts began dissecting the interaction in detail. Many noted that Ford's calm handling of the escalating tension reflected the discipline he'd developed through decades in the public eye. Commentators emphasized that while confrontations on daytime TV aren't unusual, this one stood out because Ford rarely engaged in such moments. His ability to remain composed added depth to the unfolding controversy. Social media platforms were flooded with clips, reactions, and fan-made edits. A significant portion of viewers praised Ford for setting boundaries in an environment known for pushing its guests. Others defended Behar, claiming her persistent questioning was part of the show's identity. The polarized responses demonstrated how audience expectations vary widely, especially when dealing with celebrity interviews that blend entertainment and commentary. Within a few hours, trending hashtags emerged, with thousands weighing in on the exchange. Some viewers asserted that Ford's measured responses highlighted the need for more respectful dialogue in media spaces. Others argued that public figures should expect tough conversations. The debate grew so extensive that various talk shows and podcasts began referencing the interaction as an example of modern interview dynamics. Meanwhile, Ford's team released a brief statement thanking fans for their support and encouraging them to focus on the film he was promoting. The statement didn't mention Behar directly, but it subtly acknowledged the intensity of the moment. Though concise, the message redirected attention toward the work Ford hoped viewers would appreciate, rather than the drama overshadowing it. Joy Behar addressed the moment briefly on the following day's show. She explained that her questioning style is rooted in candor, but admitted that the exchange with Ford became more tense than she anticipated. While she didn't issue a formal apology, her tone suggested a level of reflection. Some viewers appreciated the recognition, while others believed she remained too dismissive of the underlying issue. The rest of the View panel also weighed in, offering their perspectives on the situation. They emphasized that conversations can sometimes veer into unexpected territory, especially with passionate personalities. Several co-hosts noted that Ford's reaction was understandable, given the pressure placed on celebrities in interviews. Their collective response aimed to diffuse the tension that had carried over into public discussion. Online commentators pointed out that this incident sparked a larger conversation about how the media treats veteran actors. Many argued that figures like Ford, with decades of contributions to cinema, deserve interviews that prioritize their achievements rather than controversies. Others countered that fame inevitably comes with scrutiny, regardless of experience or legacy. Despite the growing noise around the incident, Ford continued with his promotional tour. At subsequent interviews, hosts approached him more cautiously, acknowledging that fans were paying close attention to how he was treated. Ford remained gracious, focusing on storytelling and the filmmaking process. The contrast between his calm demeanor elsewhere and the tension on The View only heightened the spotlight on the earlier exchange. One late-night host jokingly referenced the confrontation, asking Ford if he planned to start charging hazard fees for interviews that turned heated. Ford chuckled, responding that he preferred discussing adventures on screen rather than in the studio. The moment helped lighten the public perception of the confrontation, showing that Ford wasn't dwelling on the tension. Entertainment journalists noted how Ford handled questions about the incident with subtle diplomacy. He neither criticized Behar openly nor dismissed the experience entirely. Instead, he reframed the situation as an example of why communication and boundaries matter. His thoughtful approach resonated with many who felt overexposure and pressure have become expected in modern media. As the conversation spread across digital platforms, Ford's fans began circulating older interviews that showcased his patience and wit. These clips served as reminders that he's known for his grounded personality. Many viewers contrasted this collected persona with the rare frustration he showed on The View, further amplifying the significance of the confrontation. Commentators also explored how the expectations placed on actors during press tours contribute to tensions. They pointed out that long hours, repetitive questions, and unpredictable environments can lead to moments where boundaries are tested. Ford's situation became a case study in how celebrities navigate the tightropes between openness and self-preservation. Behar's supporters argued that her role requires her to seek deeper answers, even if it creates friction. They maintained that she treated Ford the same way she treats every guest. However, critics said restraint is equally important, noting that Ford communicated his discomfort clearly yet was repeatedly pushed. This debate fueled a broader discussion about interview ethics. Several Hollywood insiders reportedly praised Ford privately for standing his ground. They noted that few actors of his stature are willing to address boundary-pushing behavior directly on live television. His handling of the situation firm yet controlled earned respect from colleagues who have faced similar pressures during press cycles. Meanwhile, media analysts highlighted how quickly the public narrative shifted from the film Ford was promoting to the confrontation itself. They argued that this shift illustrated an ongoing challenge within modern journalism. Sensational moments often overshadow meaningful content. Ford's frustration seemed rooted in this imbalance, revealing a deeper issue within celebrity culture. Over the next several days, online discussions continued, with fans creating memes, commentary videos, and lengthy breakdowns of the exchange. Some focused on Ford's expressions, others on Behar's persistence. The moment became a cultural flashpoint, not simply because of the confrontation, but because it reflected tensions between celebrities and the media at large. Psychologists interviewed by entertainment outlets offered perspective on Ford's approach, noting that he exhibited classic boundary-setting behavior without aggression. They explained that his calm tone and straightforward statements were effective communication strategies. Many viewers appreciated this insight, saying they saw the exchange differently after understanding the psychology behind it. Meanwhile, Behar received both criticism and support from longtime viewers. Her fans argued that she remains true to her style and shouldn't adjust her interviewing methods. Critics insisted that adaptability is essential, especially when a guest signals discomfort. The polarized reactions demonstrated how strongly audiences connect with television personalities. Through it all, Ford remained focused on his work, continuing to highlight the themes and artistic choices in his film. Interviews outside the controversy were received warmly, and many hosts made a point of praising his career. It became clear that despite the online storm, Ford's reputation remained intact, if not strengthened. As the weeks passed, the intensity of the conversation began to fade, replaced by new headlines and shifting public attention. However, clips of the confrontation continued circulating periodically, resurfacing whenever discussions about interview ethics re-emerged. The moment became a reference point in conversations about respecting personal boundaries. Producers from various networks reportedly took note of the incident, prompting behind-the-scenes discussions about balancing tough questions with guest comfort. Some insiders hinted that Ford's response might influence how certain hosts prepare for future interviews. While not everyone agreed, the moment clearly sparked internal reflection within the industry. The film Ford was promoting eventually premiered to strong box office numbers, aided in part by the unexpected publicity. While the controversy wasn't the kind of attention he hoped for, many believed it reminded audiences of his authenticity and integrity. Viewers expressed admiration for his straightforward nature, contributing to renewed interest in his work. As critics reviewed the film, several mentioned the View incident in passing, noting that Ford's performance proved he was still capable of delivering powerful roles despite the surrounding drama. They emphasized that the film should be recognized on its own merits. The positive critical reception helped shift focus back to Ford's artistry. In a later interview, Ford briefly referenced the experience, saying that every press tour brings moments you can't anticipate. He added that learning to navigate such situations is part of being in the public eye. Though he didn't elaborate, his tone suggested that he had moved on without harboring resentment. Behar, for her part, continued hosting normally, though some viewers claimed she appeared slightly more mindful in her questioning for a short time afterward. Whether this was intentional or coincidental remained unclear. Still, the exchange with Ford left an impression that lingered among fans and critics alike. Over time, the incident became part of Ford's extensive collection of memorable media moments. Fans recounted stories from interviews throughout his career, noting how rare it was for him to show irritation. This rarity only made the confrontation more notable, offering insight into how far he had been pushed. Some journalists used the moment as an example when discussing the importance of emotional intelligence in interviewing. They highlighted how guests respond positively when they feel safe, respected, and heard. Ford's reaction underscored the consequences when those conditions aren't met. Cultural commentators argued that the broader lesson from the incident extended beyond celebrity interviews. They stated that everyday conversations benefit from respecting boundaries and recognizing when someone is uncomfortable. Ford's handling of the situation, they claimed, offered a real-time example of clearer communication. As the story settled into its place within entertainment history, fans continued referencing it in discussions about media pressure and celebrity resilience. It became one of those rare moments where the public saw a candid, unfiltered reaction from a normally reserved figure. For many, this authenticity deepened their appreciation for Ford. In the end, the confrontation on The View served not only as a dramatic television moment but also as a reminder of the evolving relationships between the media and the people they interview. Ford's calm firmness left a lasting impression, reinforcing that dignity and respect remain essential even in the most heated exchanges. His legacy, built over decades, only strengthened through the ordeal.